All right, we've got Summer Fever. It is the last show for Dads and Ed for the 2015-2016 school year, episode 54 of Dads and Ed. My name is Josh Allen, one of your humble co-hosts. Three wonderful kids, one on the way, a beautiful wife. Excited to be, gentlemen. I know it's rainy, I know it's chilly, but summer's in the air, right?
It
Kind of
is.
excited about that, Kat?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
for sure.
Go ahead, Kat. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Brent Cattler here from Independence School District down in Kansas City, Missouri area. I have five amazing kids ranging from 10 to 1. Beautiful wife, Josie, tremendously supportive. Can't say enough good things about her. And looking forward to tonight.
Awesome. I'm Devin Schoening, K-12 Instructional Technology Program Lead in Council Bluffs, Iowa. My wonderful family, my wife Erin and my two girls, Grace and Claire, are home from a long weekend of being down in Brent's neck of the woods down in Kansas City yesterday and today. Got back here at about 5:30 today, so I think everybody's kind of worn out here from a little bit of travel. Nothing too major, but kind of nice to be home. Aaron was saying when we got home that even when you're gone for a day, we weren't gone that long, probably gone, I don't know, 36 hours. It's kind of nice to be home. You get home, and it's just nice to be in your house. So we are home, and I think everybody's getting ready for bed in this house.
Sometimes you need a vacation from the vacation.
Yes, you do.
You guys went to World of Fun, didn't you, Devin?
Yeah, I was telling Brent earlier. So the girls got Worlds of Fun passes from their grandma for their birthdays, and so Erin and I bought passes for ourselves and all that. And she had a personal day planned for today a while ago, and so we decided, what the heck, we'll just go down and spend the day down there. And then as it got closer and closer, the weather looked worse and worse, low 50s and rain. So we ended up going down yesterday and spending the night at the Great Wolf Lodge, do a little bit of swimming and sliding. And then we did head over to Worlds of Fun today just to get our passes all done and all that. And it wasn't too bad. We were there for a couple hours and then headed home. So yeah, we spent the weekend down there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, if you want to share your Worlds of Fun pictures and events with us, feel free to do so on Twitter at Dads and Ed. You can always use the hashtag Dads and Ed. We're on Google Plus Dads and Ed. You can email whenever you want. Breaking news: we're on Google Play now, guys.
Wow.
We actually, if you remember, Jonathan Wiley was on. He hosts the EdTech Takeout podcast. I was listening to that. It's a fine program. Check that out. Him and Mindy Craney have a great podcast going, and they reminded me that you can now submit your RSS feed to Google Play and play your podcasts from there. So when we post a new show at dadsanded.podbean.com, it automatically goes to iTunes and Google Play, and you can subscribe in either one of those. I actually tweeted out the link earlier tonight from the Dads and Ed account. So
Nice.
Either one of those. You can also check us out on the Edu Podcast Network. Fine group of programs there. Pleased as always to be a part of that. I did send out, we talked last time about the kindergarten kiosk, which was one of the new ones. Sent that website out to my kindergarten and first grade building today to get them hooked on that. So any of those wonderful places, check us out, subscribe, tell your friends, catch up on the old episodes, all that good stuff. All right, so as we mentioned, we tend to take a bit of a hiatus in the summertime, as teachers are apt to do, and we've kicked around some ideas for maybe some episodes in between the summer, but apparently we are having a hard time actually finding a time for all of us to get together, as we were joking about before the show. So I want to talk about two things here in the water cooler segment. Let's talk about where we're learning, and what are we doing in the summer for learning and parenting. So for example, for learning, so this summer I'm working with my staff. Last summer, Devin and I had the opportunity to get both of our staffs together, and it doesn't really work out in either one of our schedules this summer. Mine more so than his, but so we actually our AEA, our local area education agency, reminded me that we have Atomic Learning. And so I'm putting together some teaser videos for my staff. We're going to look at Atomic Learning. If they want to learn more, they can check that out. We also are hopefully going to be pushing out Synergize, which used to be a $10 a person built-in tutorial for Google Apps that Google just bought, and now it's free. So we're hoping to pair those two things up. So what are you guys doing this summer for either yourself or for your staff?
Devin, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so I'm not doing much. No, we have a summer academy in August that finally going to try and roll out what I hope is some pretty good stuff around our one-to-one with our district. So I've got a whole bunch of sessions to plan for that, and we've kind of taken that idea of our summer academy and expanded it a bit. I know that it's going to be open for people around here to come and join us for learning. So districts and places around Council Bluffs, so in Iowa, Nebraska, wherever can come and join us. We've got all kinds of sessions that are going on, not just technology. Math sessions and literacy sessions and sessions on culture and all kinds of things, and I think we even have some speakers, some kind of pseudo keynote speakers or workshop presenter leaders coming in the mornings and presenting through those days. So a lot of my work this summer will be around kind of preparing for that and making sure that we've got everything to roll there. We've worked pretty hard this year on creating some why statements around technologies in our district. So the sessions that I'll be doing, a lot of them will be kind of workshops on how we get at those why statements. So I'm hoping that it's a really good thing. I'm starting to embed that a little bit more maybe in what's happening across the district in all buildings, because that's always the struggle. I don't know how it is. I know that's how it is in other places too, but it's always been a struggle for us to figure out what's the appropriate way to get people doing those things without mandating it. So that's kind of my plans. How do I build some of those sessions to not only be informational but to inspire people to do some things?
I don't want to go too far off the track here, but every time I get busy listening to Devin, I just think of what are we doing with like all this technology and the millions of dollars that are being implemented both infrastructure-wise and device-wise. Anyway, because as I was thinking about summer, for me, basically right now, our school year ends Wednesday. Just like this is our busy season for, at least for me anyway, in our department. Like we'll get slammed with essentially closing things down and then preparing as we buy another 4,000 more devices, for our district, and getting that in and ready to go for August. It seems like a long ways away, but in the world of getting to the board approval and all that good stuff and getting them in the house and in the carts and all that, because we're not fully one-to-one at this point, but we're getting very close, and the plan is potentially for the following school year to be one-to-one at the high school anyway. But anyway, so that's from a work perspective, and then I've got the doctorate going on, taking classes in the midst of dissertation development as we speak, so I'm drafting my first chapter and excited about that, actually, believe that or not. I know I'm kind of monotone at the moment, but I am happy that what I've accomplished so far. And then in the midst of summer work too at ISD, we have a building that we are going one-to-one in the elementary and doing major renovations to the building itself. We are putting in interactive projectors, sound systems, all this sort of stuff. So again, like I feel like my department's just about on the brink of getting slammed and not having enough people to get everything done. And so I'm just kind of stressing about all of that. And at the same time then from a training standpoint, which is where a lot of my passion lies in professional development, we have stuff set up for that over the summer. I've been going through my online PD classes that I created and getting data ready for my superintendent to take to him. And that's interesting too, just the small bits that I've touched. 230 some teachers have taken classes, and which is a great thing, but there's a whole lot of people that haven't. And so I don't know, so it's interesting to hear you talk about that, Devin, because I think I just wonder sometimes, like, all the stuff that is out there, is it being utilized to its fullest and purposeful and meaningful, and or are kids just playing games and doing other stuff? And I don't know. I'm kind of Debbie Downer right now, but I'm having a struggle with all of it in general, and part of it is my dissertation. I'm looking at Twitter for PD is probably what my topic is going to be, which is, so I've been delving into this like professional development literature, particularly around Twitter in that aspect. And as much as I love that or have loved it for myself professionally, you talk about like selling somebody on it. It's like the hardest sell in the world, I feel like, to get someone quote unquote connected. And quite honestly, if I just felt like they were connected, like say us, and I'm not trying to put us on some sort of pedestal, but I'm just saying if they had that same mentality, I would feel so much better about it. From my kids as teachers to any teacher that's out there, I would then know and feel like they are in a good place.
Well, Brent, I think that's interesting because that, I think, is the not necessarily the connected piece only, but that's the problem that I keep running into, even trying to get things to move in my district, is that idea that, you know, being one-to-one or having technology in the classroom is not about, it's so not about technology, right? If we're not doing some of these things that we couldn't do without it, then it's silly. It's a waste. You know, so the more we make it about training and the more we make it about apps and, you know, sites to use and tools, the harder it is. Now, that stuff is needed, right? But I really want, as we wrote our why statements this year, and we tried to think about these workshops that I'll do in Summer Academy around those. You know, if we're not talking about how do we purposefully connect kids to audiences, experiences, experts, you know, some of those things, places, ideas, you know, that if the connections aren't happening, why are we doing it? If we're not creating kind of more personalized kinds of learning spaces, why are we doing it? If we're not creating opportunities, powerful learning opportunities that otherwise couldn't happen, why are we doing it? And a lot of that, yeah, is there a tool or something that's necessary for all this? Probably, but there's so much more experiential, right? I want kids leaving with those experiences, not necessarily whether or not they know how to use a certain tool or app, and that's hard. I don't know what the answer is. I just know what I think most people are doing right now is probably not that.
Do we just get caught up in, I don't know, you know, take Google Apps for example. I mean, do we just get caught up in like how to create a Google Doc?
Yes.
And we can't. It's like I feel like, and I'm not trying to say anyone in my district or yours, but I'm just saying as a whole, right? I'm speaking generally here. I don't want someone coming back on me going, "You're talking bad about my district." Like I just think that I feel like, and this is from attending. You know, we were talking pre-show about ISD, and I'm attending, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's in my summer learning, Josh, as well. But at the same time, when I attend ISTE or I attend NETA or any ed camp for that matter, or spoiler alert, Elevate EDU that I'm going to share later in the show, in my coming event, like when I attend those things, guys, like it isn't necessarily for me about attending a session on learning some app, and I'm not saying that doesn't have a place for me at times, but not all the time. And so I'm just convinced about mindset being a bigger thing than anything, and kind of vision of leadership in the realm of all of this as well.
Well, that's a great lead-in to one of the tweets we just got. Brandon Tim, his summer plans involve The Innovator's Mindset, which is a fantastic book from George Couros. It talks a lot about what you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. Mr. Badura, former guest, is lining that up. I kind of forgot about that. And also former guest Rob Glenquist dropping in that he's got stuff with the kids actually being involved in summer stuff. And I feel you there, buddy. It's only going to get worse from here on out. So, so we talked a little bit about where we're learning. Do you guys have any good plans? I know Debbie Downer over there, if I mentioned the Ozarks, does that like brighten your spirits a little bit there?
Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Yeah, actually, just got word my aunt's coming to watch the kids, and Josie and I are going to get a little getaway down to the lake. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely is for me. I don't have the summers off thing anymore now, and I know I signed up for it. And I'm getting paid the big bucks, but like, unfortunately, it's not enough big bucks and not enough vacation days. So like, it's interesting, but yeah, I know having that mental health break, I think, will really be a good thing for me because when I'm down to 10 vacation days, so those go quickly in an entire calendar year.
If I wish people that are watching, they're going to listen to the podcast, to see Brent's expression change so quickly when the Ozarks was brought up was something to behold. So if you're not watching, go back and watch the show. If you're listening, just imagine Debbie Downer with his pout on, and all of a sudden there was a smile. He almost jumped out of his seat.
I've been holding on to that one. I knew that would bring him back. So.
Bobby off the edge. Thanks,
you
guys. I need you guys, man.
If you want to see our YouTube channel, just search Dad's and Ed on YouTube, and you can find find us there. We had such great luck in Colorado last year with getting the kids out, walking around, and despite my wife that will be 7 months pregnant at the time, we're going to South Dakota, and going to do the Mount Rushmore thing, and we got a cabin up there, and should be good. So we're going to do that right away, and then like Rob, kids will be doing a bazillion things. We got golf camp, we got swimming lessons, we've got outdoor ed camp, I don't know what it's called, piano lessons, gymnastics, crazy.
Yeah, that's nice. Brent said that he and Joseph are going to head down to the lake. Aaron and I head to Maine in a month.
Wow.
Nice. For our 15-year anniversary. So we're flying out to Boston and driving up the coast to stay in Bar Harbor, Maine for a week, right at Acadia National Park. So we're going to be out and doing all that stuff too. So yeah, we're looking forward to that, a week away. And the girls both have camp, so Claire will be gone to camp while we're gone. We'll pick her up when we get back. And they're home for a week, and they both go to camp for 5 days. And then I don't know what we're doing exactly for family vacation yet, but we might be down. I talked about going down to Kansas City again and going over to St. Louis for a few days, or maybe even down to the lake, down to Table Rock, and hanging out down there for a few days. That's kind of one of our favorite places too. So there's lots of, and that doesn't take into account all the other things that you guys were talking about, the swim team and soccer games and all that other stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be a great summer. We start looking at days. I know we were talking about trying to find a couple of days to get together over the summer and see each other and hang out, but also get some work done for a couple things we have coming up. But it gets awful tough when we have all these things going on.
Rob Lindquist just invited us all down to the Ozarks, July 21st. So
yes,
thanks, Rob. Appreciate that.
We'll see you there, buddy.
I love jumping back to the learning discussion part. Brandon tweets in, found it works best for me when I know what I want to do, then find the tech to make it possible. And I think that's one of the things that I've really tried to talk with our staff about is, let's not talk about what tech you want to use. Like, what do you want to do? Like, whatever you want to do, I'll figure it out. It's fine. We'll make something happen. We're getting ready for some end of the year. First graders have been doing some persuasive writing. And so we've got green screen and chatter picks all fired up, but the focus is not on what we're using. The focus is, persuasive writing. Your writing comes first, and then we'll make it look pretty and fancy and engaging all at the end.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Brandon says it, and Rob mentions mindset, and you guys have mentioned mindset today too. It is about that. How quickly can we get people to the idea that figure out what it is you want to do, and what can we do now that maybe we couldn't do before, and then the tools are plentiful. We can go find what it is, the tool we need to work.
Because it's going to change from year to year.
Right.
What you actually do isn't going to change.
Right.
All right. Dad moment of the week. So we had a fantastic weekend. As much as we are complaining about the weather right now, this weekend was better. Yesterday was 65 and sunny, so we did garden planting yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The garden looks great. We're trying the bean teepee. Have you guys ever seen these things? Put up a little PVC pipe teepee, and the beans are supposed to grow up it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give a valuation in August, see how it goes. But
I'll be looking forward to some Instagram pics of that.
yeah, it's survived 24 hours. It's still up, so I consider that to be a win on my part. I don't do the growing of it. That's all the wife and kids. So that would be my dad moment of the week. So Devin, what do you got?
Mine comes from the last couple days. I think we get caught up sometimes. With the girls, and they argue sometimes. They don't get along, and they just seem to have a really good weekend. They were off hanging out a lot of the couple of days, and kind of doing things together, and just there was very very little of that fighting or arguing that siblings tend to do. So I was happy for that, and it is kind of nice. I think we get caught up in the negative sometimes, just like everybody does. Why can't you guys stop fighting? And really, it's probably not that much. I think they really do enjoy each other. So it's kind of nice to be able to take a step back and look at that and see that happen. And not just because we went somewhere. I think it was just because of a change of scenery. So that's mine.
Kat.
Mine, I'm going to go with this weekend. My wife had a friend come down from small town Nebraska, Laurel, and to visit and do some shopping and such, and going out and dinner and all that good stuff. So I had the kids the majority of the time because she ended up doing the hotel thing with her friend here in town, which was fine with me. And so I just had some quality time with the little runts, otherwise known as Cat's Crew. And I had promised them that I would take them to the mall. We have a really cool play area at our mall. I mean, it's very large, and it's got all these little things for kids, and there's rides and a merry-go-round. I mean, it's a pretty cool spot, and so they love it. And so I took them all over there, and it was just a blast, like, with my youngest, and the other ones have just taken. What I'm really appreciating about our little family is how the kids are bonding. It's so fun to be a part of the element of their love for each other and their bond, and watching them look up to each other and want to be around each other, and the love they have for each other. It's really special. And so just to sometimes focus completely on that as I'm trying to manage everything else and balance everything else going on in my life professionally and all that good stuff, like to just spend some quality time and be forced to the table of 24/7 dad because mom was gone, was helpful. So sometimes, as much as I hated having her gone, it was a good thing for me and probably for them. So we stayed up late, we partied, we danced, had ice cream. I pretty much fed the kids whatever the hell I wanted, like mac and cheese, peanut butter jelly, like whatever they want, they get. So when mom's around, that ain't the case. So she'll never listen to this, so I'm not really worried about it. And she's not in earshot tonight, so anyway, it was pretty awesome weekend.
She'll probably wonder why every weekend the kids ask her if she's got another friend coming down.
Yeah, no kidding. No, that's for sure.
All right, gentlemen, it is that time of the show where we welcome in the smartest person now on the Google Hangout. Hey, Lance.
Yeah, that's there. Thank you.
We are excited to be joined by Lance Lennon, Tech Director for Eagle Grove CSD. Lance, first of all, we didn't talk about this in the opening, but we have teased for the last 2 weeks that our friend Dave Guyman was going to be on. And here's the problem that we have with time zones is sometimes the time zone change doesn't always click with people. And so when I emailed Dave today and said, hey, here's how things go, he says, oh, I have a curling event tonight.
I'm assuming he's not talking about his hair.
No. He and I have seen these pictures of him doing the curling Winter Olympic thingy with the stones or whatever they're called. And so we, first off, appreciate you hopping on at short notice. We had discussed having you on as we get closer to iTech this fall, but we appreciate you stepping up and coming in early.
My pleasure. I appreciate your having me. And truthfully, we'll probably have to give a big shout out to my wife on that one for allowing me. We haven't had a lot of time. Our kids are at the age where we've been going. May's busy anyway, but we've had concerts, track meets, tennis meets, and it's been wonderful weather for all of those. No, it hasn't, but that's okay.
If if your idea of wonderful weather is a parka, rain jacket, and an umbrella, it's been great.
It has, and I oh God.
So Lance, tell us a little about yourself. Where do you work? What do you do? Tell us about your family.
I am the District Technology Director for Eagle Grove Community School District, as you mentioned. It's a small town, north central Iowa. I live in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Started my career as a classroom teacher. I was actually a history government teacher, taught psychology, and truthfully got into the tech side of things because more and more computers started coming in, and they said, does anybody know anything about tech? And I was like, well, I had a computer in college. Ding, 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 winner, winner. Next thing I know, I'm the tech director. But at my first job, I did meet my wife. Was actually set up by her brother, who was a student of mine. Great story, but probably not enough time here for that one. And 2 children, 2 lovely daughters, 13 and 14. Right, 15. She's over there telling me how old my children are. So we are in the process of purchasing our first children's vehicle.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they're active, they're busy, they keep us going. And then I have 3 what I will call kind of surrogate boys. My wife's sister, she nannies for her 3 sons, and they are ages 2, 4, and 6. She's not responding to that one.
For those of you listening on the podcast who didn't see Lance lean over to get the hint as to whether that was correct or not, that was what the pause was for.
I did get the ages correctly, she informed me.
Good job. Get a gold star for that one.
Yeah, I should have gotten my own kids, though. That was...
Oops. Step 1, get your own kids right. Step 2, you can get the rest of the family right.
That's true.
It is always good to say the ages as a question. 2, 4, and 6.
2, 4. Yeah.
And just leave that out there for and then look over. That was well done. I mean, maybe people couldn't see it, but I think everybody got it by the inflection. That was perfect.
Just want to make sure, you know.
Hey, Lance, you mentioned being a tech director, and we were talking a little bit earlier before you came on about, districts being one-to-one, and what's the real purpose for having technology in schools and in districts and in classrooms in the hands of kids and teachers. And I'm curious from your perspective what the role of the tech director is and how is that changing. So when you talked about, we started getting technology and they needed somebody who might have known something about it, how much of that is shifting with so much more of the technology going into the hands of kids? So how's the role of tech director changing, do you think?
I think schools come at it one of 2 ways, and they look at their tech director as the IT guy. And then they bring in someone who is from the business world, who has the IT experience, who can do the routers, do the switches, who can, do the firewalls, run the servers, do all of that kind of stuff. And that's about it. And then they don't understand the reality of this education world. Mm-hmm. And other schools are finding teachers who were kind of like me, just put in this position as the IT guy and learned the IT stuff after learning the education side. And I think the ones that have former educators or people who understand education, because there are IT people that do understand education, and I'm going to give big credit here to Mitch Dowhauer up in Spencer. Mm-hmm. He was an IT guy who understands education incredibly. But then the other ones like us who were classroom teachers, coming in, it was more of the technology is cool, it's neat, but it's also necessary, but it's secondary to what is being taught. And it's teach the skills and teach the lessons and then find the technology that fits into it. And rather than saying, when we went one-to-one, our biggest thing was we are 5 through 12 one-to-one with Chromebooks. Our biggest thing was not we're going to see an increase in test scores. We're not going to, have a huge increase in kids' grades. What we're going to see is our kids becoming probably more productive members of society and being more prepared outside of the world. My dad always used to say, the world needs ditch diggers. And I tell people nowadays, you don't have ditch diggers. You have directional borers. And these people are using a computer probably as much as any other job out there to get done what they're doing. So I think the job has evolved into making those kinds of decisions and helping to get this stuff in the hands of the teachers and the kids, and then teaching the teachers how to use this stuff.
Very good. Lance, I've always appreciated every time I've had questions about stuff, I've often felt, I could reach out to you and and at least you could point me in the right direction or help me with that. So first of all, I just want to say thanks.
You're very
And,
welcome. Do what I can, because it's the same thing. I've reached out to people, and it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, it's so helpful. You're kind of mentioning that a little bit earlier about the network, and to me that has crossed the border for me into this other, like you mentioned, kind of this IT world that I don't consider myself an IT guy. I jokingly say that when I speak now, like, don't call me that, I'll take offense to it because I'm an educator. But at the same time, I know it comes with the territory of being a tech director, and I know there are guys on my team that judge me because I'm not, and that's okay. But like at the same time, I think the lens of an educator in our position is wildly important, and a lot of them, and I'm judging here, or being judgmental or generalizing, that a lot of them, look at it as, well, he doesn't know this IT side, but at the same time I know the educational side, and that's just as important, if not more important, in my opinion. But anyways, I wanted to bring up and have you discuss, you've listened to our show, and then you kind of got into this idea of your own show, and I'd love for you to tell our listeners about the Google Apps for Education admin podcast that you guys have started. Talk a little bit about that and where folks can find it, because I think it's very valuable.
Yeah, thank you. Totally ripped you guys off on this one, and I've been listening to you guys, not since the beginning, because I didn't know about you in the beginning, but once we found out about you, I've been just a regular listener to your podcast, and I thought it's a great format. We kind of try and follow almost the exact same format. We don't do the water cooler. We do a tip of the month, and then we all get talking about it. But we are the GAF Admins podcast. You can find us on YouTube with the GAF Admins. If you search GAF Admins, plural podcast, we do like you guys. Matter of fact, Josh gave me your workflow. We follow your workflow pretty much the same. Do that. We bring our guest in if we were lucky enough to find a guest that week, or that we do once a month. And then we followed up with, we've never actually gotten there, our extension or app of the month at the end, because we're too busy talking to the guest or talking to ourselves. And that's how it goes. And we're just 5 administrators of Google Apps for Education domains, all in Iowa. That's Carl Hare. He's in Ames. There's Chad Frericks, who's in Spirit Lake, who, when you talk about the IT side and the education side, he is probably the best mix of any of that I've ever met. He is a scripting, coding guru, and he was also an elementary teacher. And it's just the weirdest combination, and just a great guy. There's Phil Trimble, who is in Pocahontas, and he started out in the IT world. He got an associate's degree at Iowa Central as an IT person, and then Mitch Dowhauer, who I mentioned in Spencer, and he ended up with a master's in technology. Yeah, Chad was an elementary teacher. Isn't that hard to believe? Ask him his stories, because he taught in England, and it's hysterical.
Really?
And then Mitch.
Let me just interrupt for a second. So I've met Chad on a handful of occasions. Chad is extremely smart. Like, I'm not. That is the last person I thought would ever be in an elementary classroom.
But it fits. His ADD is worse than mine, and so in an elementary classroom, he's just like one of the kids, and they relate to him. And even now, his favorite holiday is Halloween. You ought to see him and his children. It is fun to watch. He's a neat guy. All of us, all the guys are, and I feel very fortunate because I've learned so much from all of them, and their levels. I'm exceptionally lucky that if I see something done, I do have the ability to then be able to figure out or build on that or remember how that was. And these guys have taught me more, than I can even imagine. Mitch, as a matter of fact, is when it comes to the GAF administration stuff, there's nobody I know better than Mitch, and I know some really good people at that. And so there's good people out there that I just happen to be lucky enough to run into. So we have our podcast, still same format as you guys. Once a month, you can find us on YouTube, on iTunes, and we are on Google Music Play also. We got on there too, so we're out there.
And I just think I want to really just quick follow up with, I've been having some of the guys on my team that help with our domain listen to it, and part of my reasoning for pushing that on them is the idea of just learning and growing and not putting yourself in this box and then you're locked into this is the way we do it. And for me, that's so important to push myself and my thinking. So regardless of how we set ours up, I want to know what y'all are talking about, because either first of all, I know it's probably gold on a lot of levels if we wade through some of the fun, which I don't mind as well. But just in general, like, the idea of just connecting and collaborating. I mean, we're all in the same boat, and it just fascinates me how school districts isolate themselves on islands and don't communicate and collaborate enough, in my opinion. And I'm talking right now through an IT lens, right?
Oh no, but what I have always found is IT people are very territorial. They're the keepers of the passwords,
right.
The masters of the domain, and I just, you talk to the five of us, and we're not that way. It's like, if there's somebody out there doing it better, we want to figure it out, because that's what we want to be, is better at our jobs. And I'm not trying to slam anybody out there, because It's a hard job. It's a very hard job. I explain to people in the business world, if you have a computer at your desk, you need that computer working so you can do your job, so you're not fired. Right. In the education world, the kids figure, if I can break this, I may not have to do my homework. Or it's a challenge to them, and they're going to try and figure out how to get around your systems and stuff like that. And if they're not being malicious, or they're not being, future hardened criminals, I don't mind that kind. I really do enjoy the inquisitive mind, and sometimes you do have to lay the smack down, but most of the time it's you got to roll with it and try to stay a step ahead, or at least even sometimes a step behind them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we noticed that you're sporting the iTech vest there. That was
yes, I am.
Okay.
I actually wearing it because I had to go to the tennis meet and I was cold. This was under. It was under and zipped up, and I had my coat over it and my hat. Great day for tennis. It wasn't Wimbledon either.
Well, being on the iTech board, we're just curious. How are you planning on increasing conference attendance at the iTech conference in October?
The conference itself has kind of been growing systemically, and I was on the board right after a really low point. We had actually gotten down to about, I'm going to guesstimate on the number, about 250, 300 attendees, and we're now up to about 1,500. And it's just kind of grown because we have a board that really puts on a good conference. We bring in great speakers. I don't know if you know this or not, but some of the guest speakers we bring in are incredible, like the Dads and Ed.
Oh, so, hey, I didn't even think of that. Oh, well, yeah, that's going to be a fantastic conference, actually.
I believe it will be. And it's just great ideas. And we go to other conferences. Like a lot of us were down in NIDA, and try and get good information. What are you doing that's working? How are you getting people there? What are things that are working at that conference? We have tried to outreach and get our message out a little better. We now do the student tech fairs. We took those over about 7-8 years ago from one of the AEAs, and that has just grown. I mean, we just had it in Central Iowa, 160 students, and we were turning kids down, not kids, but teachers who wanted more people there. We just don't have the space for it. So we have a Central and Eastern, and then we bring the top kids into the conference and say, here's what our kids are doing, and come look at this. Registration will open hopefully by the end of next week. We've got our workshops in, and I'm proud to say that 2 out of the 3 of you are offered to do a workshop there. And part of it is that poor Devin's on the board also, so he has to work like me.
Well, really, I mean, you checked off both the shameless self-promotion things that I wanted to hear. One being us being featured speakers, the other being NIDA. But you actually, I will commend you. I T-balled that question up to talk about how great iTech really is.
But it's no different.
Coming this year.
Yeah, George is our keynote, and then on Tuesday we actually aren't having keynotes. We're going to do Ignites, which are 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes, 20 slides. That's and so instead of having a keynote, we're going to do about 6 of those, and you guys are actually going to MC that. I'm really looking forward to that, and we've got some good people. Pernell Rip, she did an Ignite down in ISTE. She's going to be one of our featured speakers. She's doing Ignite. Chad Kafka from Wisconsin, who I know you know, Brett, for sure.
Yep.
He's coming in. He's doing a keynote. Carl Hare is going to do a keynote or Ignite, and he did one at the Midwest Google Summit, and I hope he does the same one because I could hear that about 20 times and never get tired of it. That was just phenomenal. They're just 5 minutes to get you pumped up and get you going. So kind of trying to do things, trying to do different stuff, and then of course our vendors. You guys have more vendors down at NIDA. but we try to get as many as we can, try to get our people down to see them. We're going to do our podcast pavilion this year. One thing I'm really excited about is we're going to set up a room where people can do live podcasts. Like we're going to offer it to you guys, to the EdTech Takeout, to us. Rob Lindquist is going to be offered position even for the Run Iowa. But if you're doing podcasts, come talk to us and you want to come and have a place for a live podcast, that's going to be at the conference. And kind of more of a than just doing it, we're also going to talk about how do you get your kids doing this and what are the benefits of this. Or if you want to do this for education purposes, come on and learn about what people are doing and how they're doing it. So that's iTech, and that's in the fall. It's October 9th, 10th, and 11th. The workshops are on the 9th, which is a Sunday, and then 10th and 11th is Monday, Tuesday, Iowa Event Center in Des Moines, Iowa. Lovely Des Moines, Iowa.
The podcast pavilion, you and I had talked a little bit about this. You mentioned it at NITA, and I think that's a fantastic idea. I was on
Stacy Beamer. I cannot take credit.
You
want
no,
ideas. No,
go ahead. No. I'm kidding. We love Stacy. She gives us a shout out every now and then, so absolutely. But I think one of the things that I was on a hangout yesterday talking about podcasting, and I think sometimes we make this sound like way too complicated for teachers. Mm-hmm. Like I'm on a Chromebook and that's it. I got my headphones that came free with my iPhone in right now, and that's it. It doesn't need to be this huge production. We don't need boom mics and everything. I think teachers think sometimes you need a soundproof room and all this other stuff, and so I love the idea of bringing people that do it in, and if we do Dads and Ed, we might have I'll probably bring the snowball mic to pick us all up better, but other than that, it's going to be us sitting around
if Rob brings his portable set, that Rob Lindquist, that set, that's what we used at NITA. That is an incredible portable podcasting equipment, and so that good quality, good sound, nice setup, and the he knows that stuff. It was nice that he was there and able to do that. So
I don't know where he gets his budget from.
Yeah, Lance, I sent this email out to the tech director group down here, and this guy goes, "Hey, was that you that podcast bomb, the Gaff Evans?" I was like, "Yes, it was."
That was probably the best photo bomb. Well, wasn't even a photo bomb, but that was a great bomb because you said you were going to, but I literally thought you were like serious and looking at something, and I was like, "What are you doing, God?" But no, you got us good.
Well, what's cool about that, honestly, the story is the fact that here's this, he's a director in Kansas, small town Kansas, that's picked up on the fact that you guys are doing that, and again, listening to it, and I just thought that was kind of cool. That's what the beauty of this show. We joke around about not having listeners and that, and we've always said it didn't matter if it was just the three of us and the great guests we have on, which I'm totally content with, but if others do, learn from the content, that's awesome too, and I think sometimes it's like, but it isn't even about that, right? And it never has been. But I do think that's a fantastic idea. I'm all fired up now about iTech, just listening to you talk about all of it, and I can't wait. It's going to be a fun time.
It's a fun conference, and we got Fong's Pizza. So
yes. Although,
and if you go to Fong's late at night and get Dad talking,
last year I was up there working, and I find out that Josh is up there at Fong's Pizza. Did not even get an invitation to go have Fong's Pizza. Didn't even know he was in town for iTech, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to let that go. Coming up on 6 months or 7 months away from that, I'm going to let it go.
Which means you're 6 months and still hanging on to it. So
right now, it's gone now. It's in the past. It's in the past.
So hey, I didn't even know what. For the record, that was my first time at Fong's Pizza. I didn't know anything about it. Michael Matera was there and said, "Hey, you should come over." And okay.
Yeah, and he just yelped it, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't remember how
he found it by accident. Nobody even recommended it to him. He just kind of ended up there. But no, that's a fun place. If you are in Des Moines, Fong's Pizza, really good, and their crab ragoon pizza is my favorite.
Yeah. So, Lance, earlier, you kind of got into this. We were talking a little bit about summer plans for each of us in terms of things we were doing for learning, maybe things we were attending or things we were doing, or things we were kind of learning on our own, and also kind of summer plans for family. You guys got any big summer plans?
Not this summer, we don't. We, luckily, about every other year, maybe 2 out of 3 years, me and the family go down. My in-laws have timeshare on Marco Island, and so we've been going down there for a long time, and but we do that in over Christmas break. So we've done. Someone said, Josh, you said you're doing the South Dakota trip.
Yep.
We did that with our family. One of the best trips ever. We did South Dakota, Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, and then went out to Yellowstone. And then a few years later, we did the Grand Tetons. Yeah, those are the kind of things. So this summer, we'll just my in-laws have a place on Twin Lake. I know Brett lights up when he thinks of the Ozarks. I light up about Twin Lakes. It's a lot of fun. The kids have it now. They'll be doing volleyball camp, band camp, and my youngest daughter's going to go to Diva Tech, which is provided by the community college here in town. It's all girls, and it's all tech stuff. And so junior high girls doing tech stuff, which will be fun for her. And then, of course, both my daughters ride horses. My oldest rides Western, and my youngest rides Hunt, which is the fancy. And so we have the joy of horse shows. So it's like, that's no, but I love it. And if there's one thing that's built more confidence in those girls, you ought to see them. They boss around, 1,000-pound animals and tell them what to do, and it's incredible. And then learning-wise, I'll be going out to ISTE. Little shout-out. We will be having a live podcast from ISTE from the Google booth. They've actually okayed the GAF Admin podcast out there, so we're very excited about that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Didn't want to trump you guys, but
Wow.
I don't know. It just all worked out, and that was as much luck as anything
How
else.
did I tweeted earlier about how this, like, who approved this guy coming on the show? Like, we can't have.
Well,
this,
if I would have known
newbie
that
to the pod
he's
world,
in with Google.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not in with Google. I happen to know people who are in. That's like I said. You talk about, Brent, when you go to conferences, it's as much about talking to people and finding out what they're doing as going to a session, and it's more about that for me, is making those connections with people that I can then hopefully help in some way, but more they can help me in some way. And making those, and that's just it. It's those are the people that I've been lucky enough to meet that have given opportunities like this, and my school. So
yeah, it's crazy. That's cool, though. Again, I think that's fantastic that you'll be sharing that much more with that many more people.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, we can't break out the news about our ISTE breakout stuff, so we'll share that in a later. Next year.
I'm anxiously, wait a minute, next year will be after the fact.
Well, I'm saying this is our last episode of it until,
Right.
So, yeah, just stay tuned.
Okay.
We'll photobomb your podcast.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Photobomb your podcast.
I'll be there.
That's our ISTE podcast time.
I'll be like the guy in the back, like, do you remember that time you were on Dad's Net and you were talking about this? Yeah.
Hey, Lance, one of the things that we ask everyone who comes on is kind of that intersection of being a parent and education, which obviously is one of our foundational things that we have here. So how has, I'm not sure the timeline of when you transitioned out of the classroom, but obviously you're still in education. How has being a parent affected the work that you do, and vice versa? How does the work that you do affect being a parent?
So my kids don't go to my school district. They go to the private school here in town, and they are one-to-one with MacBooks. And so it's really kind of fun to watch because I'll see what my child does at home and the restraints that are or are not in place on her machine and what works and what doesn't work, and kind of help bring that back to my district and finding out, what is this going on? What do I need to do to make ours better? What do I need to continue doing that was working? And so that, and then it's really hard as a parent. Like my wife says, I don't talk at conferences and that, but as an educator, I'm very fortunate, and I don't know. I don't want to sound like a bragger, but my children are very bright, and they do very well in school, and they thrive. But I want them challenged more. My wife and I agree that if our kids just got A's all the time, I'd actually be kind of upset because I don't feel like they're challenged. And when they come home and talk about getting a bad grade, I'm like, yay, a teacher challenged you, And it wasn't just a trick question. I want them to have that. And my wife says when they go to college, she wants them challenged even more, and she doesn't want them coming home with straight A's. And I'm like, well, at that point, it's okay by me. But right now, I definitely want them to be challenged. But when I go to conferences, I don't want to sit there and talk and try and I don't know. It's hard, but you want to make sure your kids are getting the best they can, but you also don't want to seem like that jerk that's going to a conference and oh, I'm an educator and I know this, this, and this, and we know how to do that better. I try not to do that, and so oftentimes I am very quiet. My wife says, well, you just kind of look like a jerk anyway. And I'm like, yeah, I probably did, but I didn't mean to.
Well, that's all right. Well, Lance, we appreciate your time. Do you have a few more minutes you can stick around with us, or do you need to go?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, we're going to put you on the spot. We're going to talk about an app or a website to share, someone to follow on Twitter, and a coming event. So we'll give you a few minutes to prep those as we go through ours. So
sounds good.
Devin, you're up first.
Sure. I think one thing I'll share, and I think it maybe for a different purpose than it's intended, but I did a breakout EDU with some coaches the other day, instructional coaches, and as I was planning for it and doing it, I kind of noticed the Locks app that you can get on your phone, and it has all the different locks that you can have right there on your phone. So we built in a couple of challenges within there where the way they got their hint cards was they had to find these little puzzles around the room that were hidden in envelopes, and then when they got those out, they had 2 minutes or whatever the time was to solve the lock to get the hint. Otherwise, they wouldn't get their hint card. So as I was doing, I thought, wow, that's really cool. It's another way to kind of build in some additional pieces to a breakout. But I also started thinking, what a great thing you could use in the classroom just to have kids kind of solve little puzzles, right? Solve questions to get something. So we talked about I could have some of these things up around the classroom, and once they had them, they could come to me and they could solve those on the phone, and they could earn something. Maybe as a class they complete so many of those, they get something as a class. If I'm in elementary, maybe it's a little extra time outside, or if I'm in secondary, maybe it's free homework. I don't know, but I really love the idea of utilizing that tool. And ever since Need, I can't remember. I think it was Tony Vincent who I was listening to and talked about hacking all of these tools. So you have all these different tools and apps that you have access to, and how can you find ways to use them that they are in ways that they aren't necessarily intended, right? So I've been all about trying to find different ways to hack different apps and sites and things to do what I wanted to do, as opposed to maybe what it was originally intended to do. I think maybe I did that before, but Tony really pushed me to think a little bit more about that. So the Locks app on my phone, and it's available in the store. I kind of love that, and I'm going to find all kinds of ways to try and use that app.
Is that one available on Android yet? I know it was iOS.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was saying that, and then I stopped myself because I'm not sure if it is available on Android or not. I'll look really quick.
While he's doing that, Lance, what's a good app website that you've been hooked on lately?
App that I just started playing with, and I got it from the EdTech Takeout. Jonathan Wiley talked about it. Overcast, which is a podcasting app. I don't know if you guys have talked about that one before. I like the podcast app on my iPhone fine, but it didn't always do everything I wanted it to do. And playing with Overcast, it seems to have a lot more functionality than just the podcast app. One thing about the podcast app on iOS that always bothered me, the built-in one, was if it played, like, let's say I listened to episode 53 of your podcast, and then I would want it to automatically go to 54 because that's the next one, it would actually jump back and go to 52. So it seems like my podcast app would always play the ones behind it rather than playing ahead, which would make logical consecutive sense. So hopefully that's one thing I like about Overcast.
It's good you brought that up, because I was actually thinking today, I knew I had heard of one lately, I couldn't think of where it was, and I wonder if that was it. I was looking for a new one, so good call. Nice job.
So that is iOS and Android.
Nice. All right, I have the Twitter follow of the night. So I was scrolling through. I don't think we've mentioned this person before. Forgive me if we have, but Twitter follow of the night is Tim Lauer, at Tim Lauer, Timlauer. Tim is a principal up in Oregon. does a great job of showcasing the school. You know, we had Eric Schenniger on a couple weeks ago, and we talk a lot about, you know, highlighting things that are going on. You know, that's why we do our district spotlight. Tim always has great examples of what I wish principals would do. You know, taking pictures of kids learning, the after-school activities, just all sorts of things. I also am really jealous that every Friday night he goes out for pizza and then posts pictures of everybody who's in Portland coming over for pizza. Someday I hope to be that part of Tim Lauer. I don't want to be the administrator part, but the Friday night pizza part, absolutely. So great follow all around. Make sure to check him out. Lance, who is someone that you learn from or look up to in the Twitterverse?
Quite a few, but I'm gonna pick someone. He's from New York. He's a principal out there, Jesse Lubinsky. I've had the opportunity to meet him. You know him, Brett?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't met him in person, but I've had a lot of hangouts with him back in the day when I was launching the Edge of Hangout stuff. I hung out with him a lot to discuss that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he just a lot of really neat stuff. He just started doing some keynotes, and he's at J. Lubinsky, so he's like the big Lubinsky, but different, Lubinsky, and just a lot of little tidbits, just neat little tidbits that every now and then it's not overwhelming, it's not mundane, it's just perfectly seasoned. How's that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does an awesome job.
Got
him in the show notes.
I'm sure glad you mentioned the Lebowski because I thought that as soon as you said it. So I'm glad I'm not the only one there. Brent, what's coming up on your calendar?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just tweeted to Dads and Ed, hashtag our coming event is Elevate EDU. It is June 8th, and you can follow it on Twitter at Elevating EDU. And then check it out at elevatingedu.org. And currently the hashtag is also elevatingedu. And I'm really excited about this. Years ago I was asked to speak at KC TechNet, which is just a small-time kind of EdTech conference. And the long story short here is I'm now the president of Elevate EDU, and we're hosting it at one of the high schools in my school district, William Chrisman in Independence, and it's a Wednesday during the week, which we know isn't the best, but we picked this thing up off the ground in December and kind of wanted to just get something off the ground, get something on the board. We are technically a regional ISTE affiliate, which is kind of interesting, and so I've got just a ton of amazing people surrounding on this thing, and it's been a lot of fun to connect and collaborate with others and make some great things happen in our area for this. And so we have an awesome day planned. We're doing some breakout EDU stuff. We're bringing in nonprofits and profit organizations for like a speed table part of the day, as well as a great keynote speaker by the name of Adam Arredondo, who is out of the KC Startup Village here in Kansas City, and is an amazing dude doing some amazing stuff. And so really looking forward to educators hearing his message, and just in general too, our breakout sessions and things we've got going on. But it'll be an awesome day. And then we've kind of just been working with lots of other things in the future too. So it's a great organization on the rise with a lot of great people around it. So be on the lookout because it's really got tons of potential. What's been so fun is to just kind of have, I don't want to say, like, for lack of better words, no rules in the sense of us building it. And so we've just been creating together without any jurisdiction and just saying, hey, what do we want to do? And let's make it happen. And so it's been a lot of fun putting that together with a bunch of great educators from down in this area. So anyway, would love to have anybody who wants to come show up in KC. I got room in my house. I could put you up, and I can get you in the conference too for free.
What are you guys running your website on?
WordPress.
I liked it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I will take zero credit for that. There's a gal named Angie Brill on the team, and Angie is amazing. She's an ed tech trainer for West Platte School District, which is down here in the KC area, and it's really all her. A couple other cats have gotten their hands in the cookie jar, but she's done the majority of it. And yeah, I think it's turned out really nice, and it'll keep evolving, of course. But overall, I think it gives our message out pretty well. And so yeah, like I say, we're stoked. We're excited about. We've got about 200 people signed up, which, considering we just launched this thing in December,
Nice.
we're pretty stoked about that. So yeah. Anyways, not to take up too much time, but I'm pumped up about it.
Absolutely. Well, I think you mean tradition. Like, you don't have any tradition of this is the way things have always been done. Instead of, it's not that you don't have any rules. I mean, there's things that you don't have any.
Yeah, good point.
Nothing you've always done that you have to live up to.
Kind of building it from scratch.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool. Lance, you talked about a couple things, but what are you looking forward to on your schedule coming up?
I'm going to do a little self-promotion here.
Please
and that is this summer, and it's going to be in my district, but it's open to the public. The EdTech team does the Google Level 1 and Level 2 trainer camps, and we're bringing them in July, and they will be doing the camps in our district July 18th and 19th for Level 1, and July 25th and 26th for Level 2. It works out really well with we're for the Iowa schools, the TLC grant, or the Teacher Leadership Grant. It's going to work out really well for our district school, and then area surrounding schools are going to be sending people, but there'll still be some seats available, and you can get credit for it. So there is a possibility of getting some college credit for your license renewal also. But yeah, Level 1, Level 2.
Cool.
Very cool. Great idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, we're going to wrap up the night with our district spotlight. So, Lance, if you can narrow down one or two people in your district that you want to highlight, we're going to start off with Devin.
Yeah, I have two. They're both from each of our high schools. Kind of the athletics or activities have taken over accounts, and they do a great job of sharing not just the things that are happening in athletics at the two buildings, but just kind of great things that are happening in general. So ALHS Athletics is one. That's from Abraham Lincoln High School, one of our high schools, and the other one is CBTJ Activities. And that's from Thomas Jefferson High School. So I just saw tonight, at least the AL one was sharing some things from senior night. So they do an outstanding job of keeping people up to date on great things happening at both high schools.
Fantastic. I am going to switch it up a little bit. This weekend we had a student who's in our Talented and Gifted program. His project for the year was to create a 5K. So he created the 5K for 5 families. All the money that he raised from people signing up for the 5K went to 5 different families, not just from our school district. There was, I think, 2 from our school district, 2 from Council Bluffs Public, and 1 from another small town around Council Bluffs. So his website, which I'll put on the Dads and Ed hashtag, is empoweringchange.us. You can kind of see what he did. Him and I met early on this year and just kind of talked about logistics of websites and signing up. He used Eventbrite. Just kind of talked about the workflow of all that kind of stuff. The ideas were completely his. I take no credit for that. Just worked through the logistics and some of that stuff. So very cool when we are able to turn kids loose and let them do something, and definitely doing something for good. He didn't get anything out of it other than the satisfaction. And I'm excited he's only a sophomore. We still got 2 more years with him. So we'll see what other random things we can come up with him to do. So good job, Gabe. Keep up the great work. Brett.
Yeah. I'm going to give my district spotlight to a young man by the name of Casey Kuska. He is actually originally from Nebraska in the Exeter Mildigan area. I found this out just the other night when he was participating in Nebraska Head Chat, and I was at class, and my phone was blowing up with him and Mandery. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to learn here. Can you guys stop tweeting? Because I really try to pay attention in class and not tweet. But anyway, he is up and coming and doing some amazing things at his school, and just really impressed with him this school year. He's a 3rd grade teacher at his elementary school here in Independence, and has just done a great job of, he's attended some ed camps around here and gotten himself going with Twitter, and starting to really ramp up with his game, if you will. And so I'm quite proud of calling him a colleague, and just looking forward to continue to watch him grow as a young man in the profession, and just really getting energized with stuff. So very impressed with him.
Very cool. Lance, I see you just put it on the hashtag, but tell us about your district spotlight.
Yeah, shout out Jennifer Lennon. She is a elementary teacher in our district. We had the opportunity to have the Google Cardboard, the Google Expeditions come in and do a demo. And to see the way that she was able to embrace that technology but still teach, it was more than it was just something super exciting. It was, here it is, now, it was like on the fly she built this lesson. And it was a matter of, okay, look here, put it down, let's talk. She's in her 3rd year as a teacher, and she was just picked as one of our teacher leaders for our TLC grant. So she, and nobody on staff thought that was a bad idea. So just someone who is going to probably end up doing great things in education, and we're fortunate to have her in Eagle Grove, and I can't say enough positive things. So Jennifer Lennon, so and I put it on the hashtag. At Jen Lennon.
Number sign.
Pound, whatever.
Pound.
All right, so we've come to the end of episode 54, the end of season 3. Lance, thanks so much for, again, taking time out of your day. We look forward to learning from the GAF Admin podcast and catching up with you in the fall.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Lance.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lance.
As we said, planning on taking a break over the summer. You never know. We may throw out a surprise or two, but make sure to follow at Dads and Ed, connect on Google+, and we'll keep you updated. So have a great summer, everyone.